the ethnic nationalism aimed to destroy this homogeneity of the city. And the culture was the symbol of it. That's why all cultural activities in Sarajevo during the siege were the voice of resistance.
The actors who were working here were from all nationalities. Main actors were from the nationality that was actually attacking the city, and nobody ever pointed the finger, nobody ever said a bad thing about them, because they were seeing them not as the opposite side, but they were seeing them as human beings.
Actors were not paid, for example. They didn't get any salary. They were not coming there to work, yes? They were coming there to survive.
It was an escape. It was almost like an illusion that you are working as if there was no war. And people who worked here, they really tried to make everything as it was before, as much possible, to behave as, there's bombing outside and you have like a doorman greeting you on the door, welcoming you, showing you to your seat, trying to be oblivious to all the horrors happening outside. And it was really a thing that helped people having some sort of professional purpose, but also of a personal purpose in life, not only surviving, not only fighting, but also having some deeper, some more human kind of purpose in life.
During the war, I did something to help to the kids in Bosnia. Actually, the director of the youth theater, he asked me to write some small piece for the theater, just to get children inside instead of outside, because it was quite dangerous because of grenades and snipers. So I did a full length, and it was a Sarajevo fairy tale. It's a history of Sarajevo in one play that kids can learn about brotherhood, about the good values in the life.
The role it had was we can call it like a spiritual or the healing role that it had or it provided, because people would come here daily, and we had performances through the whole war. The theater never stopped. Now it sounds really funny, but like the entrance ticket for the audience would be to bring like a piece of candle or a makeshift light that people were making from water and oil and some wood, not wood, but wool. And they would bring this in order to provide light for the play, because we didn't have electricity, we didn't have anything. So the actors would perform under the light provided by the audience, which created some really strange, but strange in a beautiful way, atmosphere. And people who were attending the theater in this period, they all say that it's one of the reasons that they've kept their sanity. It's because they knew that there's like something normal happening in all the craziness around them.
One theater critic, he compared it to Sarajevo Book of Dead, because he said that the theater performances were like little parades of these one who are still alive. That people were coming and they were checking like who is alive, because during the siege everyone was closed in their houses. They couldn't go anywhere, so they were coming to theater and were just checking who is alive, who's doing what. There was actually lots of theater of absurd. Actually, the first premiere of theater under siege, it was The Shelter in 1992, and it was the theater of absurd. Like paradoxically, absurd was like the best language for the situation. They didn't want to mythologize the reality, that they didn't want to victimize the reality. They wanted to kind of have like this bitter distance to what was going on.
It's very interesting. There's no war. In my play, there's no war. You don't see the war, but war happened inside of the people. It's the same like a reality now. War happened, war is over, but it's still happening inside of the people. You see, whole history is bad teacher, actually. You see, because we repeat the same mistakes every year or every 10 years. And now people just need some positive way of thinking.
The plays were made according to the inclinations of the people who were making them. So, for example, we had comedies, but we also had some really hard, heavy dramas. Or we even had a musical, which was like a huge hit, because normally people enjoyed more having some light themes shown to them instead of some heavy or dark themes. But we didn't have like a repertoire policy during the war. It was make what you can, because you never knew how many actors were able to attend the play or to perform. So you would just work with what you had.
The idea was to let kids learn from the history, because we have very clear and excellent past. So it's a past that we lived for centuries. We lived as a multicultural country and a multi-religious country. We've been together here. You see that the mosque and the church is next to each other, and just to give a chance to think about it, about positive values of the history.
But during the war, it was mainly people, of course, there was always this part of specialized audience, people who went to the theater before the war, so they had this kind of habit going to the theater. But also we had people who happened to be on the street at the time when there was a performance, and they would come, or people who were out around the theater during the bombing, and everybody knew that you could hide here.
Sarajevo was under constant shelling almost, so the way to the theater was actually very dangerous. Sometimes there are lots of description that people gave how they were getting to the theater. It took lots of hours because they had to wait that shelling stops, or for such things. So it was an unusual experience. They actually were risking their life to get into the theater, yes? As one actor, I read the testimony, he said that the hours were adjusted to the meals of people who besieged the city. Because when they're having like breakfast or dinner or lunch, there was like, the shelling was a bit softer, so they could more freely walk in the city space, yeah? So then there was like, for example, around 1 o'clock there was a performance, not in the evening.
We didn't have like scenography, so you would just use from the old plays that we had in the basement some plywood or some leftovers, and we would make makeshift scenography, and also the costumes were also handmade and just adjusted for the play. So it was really a topsy-turvy kind of theater, but nobody noticed. Nobody ever said like, well, that's wrong, or that's not a proper costume, or that's not a proper prop. People were really just coming for the joy of having a chance to see a theater performance during the whole madness that was happening around. They would just sleep here, work here, sleep here, work here, and people would bring them food or all the necessities for life. And today they say, although it was really cold, wet, and hard part of their life, they say it was also one of the most beautiful periods of their lives, because they were living theater.